You know, we tend to think about these 5 skills of academic behaviors and perseverance and positive, having a positive attitude, having these great learning strategies and social skills as existing in the service of learning content. In other words, these are good things to have if they make you a better student, and they certainly are that. They certainly are a means to that end. But I'd like you to consider that, for example, at age, you're in your 30s. Some of us can remember those days in your 30s, and having knowledge of the 3 main points in Washington's farewell address. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool to drop that at a cocktail party. But it's really not a game changer in your life. But when you're 35 and you encounter a major challenge or a failure, and you're able to overcome that and grow from it, now that's important. I wanted to just say a couple things before we turn to the sort of the specific habits that your child and you as students will learn, and that is that there's a tremendous amount of research over the last several decades that supports the importance of this. Indeed, it is considered these non-cognitive skills to be the best predictor of success in school. So it's not your IQ, it's not even your ability, but it's really how hard you work, how organized you are, how disciplined you are. That is the greatest measure of success. And also consider this, that the United States has the unfortunate distinction among Western nations, at least, of having the lowest matriculation rate in colleges anywhere. So we're hovering at about 50%. And indeed, some people drop out of college because of lack of money, and some drop out because of life changes, marriages, and whatnot. But the biggest reason that people, again, drop out isn't because of ability or intelligence, but because they have not fostered these skills. So now to the $1 million question, right? What can we accomplish in 3 weeks here at St. Ambrose? So I want to talk about that a little bit, and mention first that we are not going to focus on these 5 skills in a vacuum. Rather, we are going to train students. We are going to reinforce these skills through a couple of content areas. And here's where we kind of reverse the emphasis on the curriculum. So during the school year, we focus quite a bit on cognitive processes, and we will also do our best to help students with these other factors. But for the most part, it's students learning content and learning how to think. This time around, in the summer, our content is going to be at the service of these skills. So what will the content be? Well, for the younger group, those students who are entering St. Ambrose as 6th graders and 7th graders, they are going to be studying or use as their vehicle, I should say, for learning these non-cognitive skills of ornithology, aka birding. And I think it's a very appealing field in the sense, I can't remember who said this, but it's a phrase that's always stuck with me, and that is that birders are by nature, people who watch birds are by nature pious predators. So it appeals to naturalists, but also that instinct among some of us for the hunt. And then for the older students, we will use as our vehicle history in the form of immigration and genealogy. So how are we going to instill these non-cognitive skills? Let's start with academic behaviors. And this is, again, once again, this is basically what it takes to be a good student. Showing up, being organized, not being disruptive, et cetera. And ultimately, academic behaviors, the other four components, perseverance, academic mindset, learning strategy, social skills, kind of feed into academic behaviors. So I'd like to talk about those other four and this idea of perseverance. In other words, grit and tenacity, staying focused in the presence of distractions and obstacles. While it's only 3 weeks, 3 weeks is still a fair amount of time, and much can be accomplished during that period. So for the birding students, they are going to complete a field journal of a specific species of bird. So some of this will be what we call backyard biology, so studying birds or a species of bird in their yard, but some of that will be field work that is taken outside the grounds of the school. And so at the end of the year, they'll have something that resembles that. Danny, could you scroll down and we'll show you, if you can go down a little bit farther. So something that will look a little bit like this. Right. So you can go back up to the list. One more. Thank you. The other thing that I have discovered as an educator that's a great tool for teaching students this skill of tenacity are logic puzzles, which students seem to, of all different stripes, seem to love, as well as team building. You're laughing in the back because you remember some of Mr. Quas's logic puzzles. Maybe they don't love them as much as I thought. But there's also team building activities, as well as a term that's used by athletes and people who look at what determines success among athletes. This idea is deliberate practice, and that is, the great athletes do not just go out and just kind of wing it and practice and hit a bunch, if they're a golfer, they're just to go and hit a bunch of golf balls willy-nilly, right? They're setting goals for themselves, and they are going to deliberately practice with a goal in mind for each practice. They're fantastic. They're fantastic role models. The third element of academic mindsets, this idea, this positive mindset, I belong here, I am a student, I can do this. One of the most important things, all the scholarship says this, that it is essential for students to believe in themselves, that they have to believe that they can change. That intelligence isn't something that's fixed, that they can actually learn more, that they can be a little brighter, that if they don't seem like they're a hard worker, if they think of themselves as lazy, that doesn't mean that they can't change. And we all know this to be true. Right? We all know that this is true. Nevertheless, the scholarship and the folks who have instituted this curriculum suggest it needs to be emphasized all the time, because it's students' self-image of themselves as a student, more than anything else, really, that sets the foundation for students being able to succeed or to prosper this way. So when we talk about academic mindsets, part of it is an attitude, but also much of it is also with things like goal setting. And in fact, we were talking a little bit about this just before our talk today, when we'll ask students, well, what are your goals for next semester? Well, I'm going to work harder. Okay, what does work harder mean? And, well, I don't know, study more. Well, how are you going to do that specifically? And we can give them a plan, and we can say, okay, this is what you have to do. right? But it's not until that they learn how to create the plan themselves. And then by doing it themselves and failing sometimes, in fact, most of the time, but in the process still succeeding. It's only when that happens and when they witness people who have failed and succeeded and who have developed plans and followed through on them. When they witness that, then it is then they are able to actually change or adapt their behavior to actually study harder. Now, learning strategies, as I mentioned before, things like mnemonic devices, how to take notes, how to review notes, etc., and involve questions that concern this idea of for example, self-regulation. So in other words, self-control. So when you are studying and your mind starts to wander, what do? Well, I go with it, and then I wait, right? Or when you're studying and you're stuck and the computer's right there and Facebook is right there and what do you do? Or when you're in mass and your mind starts to wander a little bit, what do you do? What should you do? What will work for you? These are things, right? These are learning strategies that apply not just in the classroom or out in the field, but in the sanctuary as well. Finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about social skills, cooperation, empathy. Back when I was teaching at the UW, I learned the number one factor, the number one strategy, I should say, the most effective strategy in study strategy in college was whether to determine success in college was whether students decided to join a study group or not. Students that joined study groups did remarkably well. And there are many students here and everywhere who say, I prefer to work alone. And you can tell them, no, if you work with someone else, think about, all the evidence shows that you will flourish, right? How do you get that student to change her opinion and say, okay, maybe I'll give this a try. Right, that's the best we can do. It isn't until that student actually recognizes a change or recognizes that working in a group has helped their success that it will affect them. And so we will try to do this summer as well. So the third thing I wanted to talk about now is what will the 3 weeks look like? Well, your children are going to come in as civilians, and they're going to come out as Marines. No, this is it's not modeled on the Marine Corps. Actually, it's rather loosely modeled on the St. Ambrose environment, as you'll see in a little bit, and a program that's run by the University of Wisconsin in partnership with the Department of Education called College for Kids. And so this is a 3-week program that the workshop proper runs from Monday to Thursday. Fridays we'll be having a field trip for the first two Fridays. So when the students, when your child arrives, when you guys, you students here to arrive, the first thing that you will do is write a report card. You will give yourself what we call a non-cognitive skill or performance character report card. We'll give in a bunch of questions about these things, and we'll see how you do. Students will write a mission statement on what they hope to accomplish this year. And of course, we'll have a social contract with regard to how we treat one another. Students will keep a journal, and journaling is very important with regard to this third point of academic mindsets, especially through this idea called metacognition, a fancy word for thinking about thinking. So an example of metacognition would be if you are, say, you're reading a text, right? Reading an encyclical or something, and you're just stuck. Oh, what does this mean? Well, I'm just going to give up and go to the next part, right? People who know something about metacognition will say, okay, I don't understand this. Why don't I understand this? What's tripping me up? What sort of strategy can I do to approach this text, this encyclical, in another way? So students are thinking about their own limitations in that sense. And for many of us adults, that has become second nature for us, but it's certainly not the case with students who will often in a class, certainly in a talk, if there's a talk like this one, right, will just sit and they will just listen. Just listen, then you can ask them afterwards, as I will do, either through a quiz or something. Okay, what were my 3 main points? Or similarly, I'll sometimes ask them, what was Father Bart's main message in the homily this morning? And it's like, okay, well, students who are thinking about it, thinking metacognitively, will think, okay, why is it that I'm not able to get this? And there's little games and strategies students can use to improve those things. But one of the best is writing a journal. So students write in part of their journal, which will include, of course, among the younger kids, the field of ornithology, and among the older kids, genealogy, but a significant section of that will be, all right, how did I study tonight? And we'll guide them through that. You know, like what tripped me up? How would I rate my study on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest? And so they keep thinking about this, and they develop these habits where they're thinking about how well they did. That's why we feel so strongly about journaling. On our very last day, Thursday, August 14th, there'll be a capstone project for both groups. So, as I mentioned earlier, among the younger students, the incoming students and 7th graders, they'll present their profile of a specific bird, complete with their field notes, and the older students will present their family history. And they will leave with a character report card that they write out after their experience here. They'll reflect on the mission statement that they wrote at the beginning to see how things went. And the facilitators of their class will give you parents and those of you who are students a written assessment and an action plan for the upcoming school year on these skills.